Extraordinary and heroic day, everyone. Welcome to today's training on data privacy and information protection awareness. My name is Mark Allen Esparada, Senior Associate, and I'll be guiding you through this session. This training has been designed in alignment with Republic Act 10173, also known as the Data Privacy Act of 2012, as well as our firm's internal policies here at Season Corillo Peroni and Company. By the end of this session, you will have a clearer understanding of what data privacy means, how it applies to your daily work, and what your responsibilities as our members of this firm. Now, let's get started. Before we dive into the content, let me walk you through what we aim to accomplish today. There are five training objectives. First, we want to understand the key principles of data privacy and information protection, the foundational concepts that govern how we must treat data in this firm. Second, we will distinguish between two important categories. Number one, personal data, which relates to individuals, and business data, which relates to companies and organizations. Third, we will learn about the data lifecycle, how the data moves through collection, storage, use, disclosure, and eventually disposal, and what our responsibilities are at each stage. Fourth, we will cover the security measure we must apply, organizational controls, physical safeguards, and technical protection. And fifth, we will discuss incident response, what to do if you suspect or discover a data breach. Now you know the training objectives. Let's begin now with the legal backdrop. Our data privacy practices are grounded in several key instruments. The primary law governing data privacy in the Philippines is Republic Act number 10173, known as the Data Privacy Act of 2012. This law defines how personal information must be collected, processed, stored, and disposed of. The Data Privacy Act is implemented through its implementing rules and regulations, or IRR, which provide the operational details on how to comply with the law. The National Privacy Commission, or NPC, is the regulatory body that oversees enforcement and issues additional guidance and advisories that we must follow. Our firm also align its practices with the ISO 27001, the International Standard for Information Security Management Systems. While this is a global standard, its alignment with the Data Privacy Act makes it an excellent complement to our compliance framework. And finally, we have our own firm policies and procedures which translate these legal and regulatory requirements into practical day-to-day guidance specific to SCP. Please note that compliance is not optional. Violations carry legal, financial, and reputational consequences. Now, let's talk about what we actually mean when we say data. Personal data refers to any information, whether recorded in writing, electronically, or otherwise, that directly identifies an individual or that could reasonably be used to identify someone when we combine with other information. That includes names, home addresses, email addresses, dates of birth, phone numbers, workplace details, gender, geographic location, IP addresses, citizenship, salary information, benefits data, and more. Think about the kind of information that comes through HR, payroll, or client engagement. That is all personal data and it must be handled with care. Beyond personal data, we also handle what we call business or company data. This refers to information that relates to the firm itself, to our clients, to suppliers, or to government agencies, treated as business entities rather than individuals. This type of data is protected under information security standards, record keeping and retention rules, and other applicable laws. Think of financial statements, audit working papers, tax records, engagement files, and corporate contracts. This is all business data, and it deserves the same level of protection as personal data. The Data Privacy Act establishes three core principles that must guide everything we do with data. The first is transparency. When we collect personal data, we must clearly inform the data subject, the individual, about what we are collecting, why are we collecting it, and how it will be used. No hidden agendas. The second is legitimate purpose. We must only process personal data for lawful, specific, and clearly defined purposes. We cannot collect data just in case. There must be a valid legal or contractual basis for every processing activity. The third is proportionality. We must collect only data that is necessary for your stated purpose. If only you need someone's name and email address, you should not also collect their home addresses, phone numbers, and birthday. Collect what you need, nothing more. These three principles, transparency, legitimate purpose, and proportionality, are foundational. They should inform every decision about the data collection and use. Let's look at the different types of information we encounter. First, basic information includes data that defines an individual or organization. Names, addresses, phone numbers. This is the most common type and still requires proper handling. Second, sensitive information is a higher stakes category. It includes health records, political opinions, biometric data, and business records. The law provides heightened protection for sensitive personal information, and an unauthorized disclosure can result in serious legal consequences. And last, privileged information is a special category protected under the rules of court and other laws. This includes attorney-client communication and similar confidential professional exchanges. This type of information has the highest level of legal protection. In an audit and accounting firm context, you will be frequently encounter all three types. Always apply the level of care appropriate to the sensitivity of the data. Next, the data life cycle. Data doesn't just exist, it has a life. Let's walk through the 6 stages of the data lifecycle and what your responsibilities at each stage. Stage 1, collection. We collect only data we need. Using approved forms and only with proper consent or valid legal basis, individuals have the right to withdraw consent subject to certain limitations. Stage 2, storage. Data must be stored securely, whether in cloud system or physical locations. Storage must be protected from unauthorized access. Stage 3, usage. Data must only be used for the purpose it was collected. Access is limited to those with a legitimate need to know. Transparency and confidentiality must be maintained at all times. Stage 4. Access. Access to personal and business data is restricted to authorized personnel only. Formal request procedures must be followed when requesting access. Stage 5. Sharing and disclosure. Data may only be shared for lawful purposes, under proper agreements with confidentiality safeguards in place. And lastly, stage 6, retention and disposal. We retain data only as long as required by law or firm policy. Archive inactive data appropriately and securely dispose of data when it is no longer needed. And that's the data life cycle. Now let's move on with the data retention. Speaking of retention, let me be specific about the minimum retention periods required for key data categories. Records of unsuccessful job applicants must be retained for at least 6 months. For client engagement file, must be retained for a minimum of 5 years. And lastly, for employee records, must only be retained for a minimum of 5 years. It is equally important to know that once data reaches the end of its required retention period, it must be securely disposed of. The Data Privacy Act specifically calls out excessive retention as a violation of proportionality principle. Keeping data longer than necessary is a compliance risk. One of the rights afforded to data subjects under the law is the right to withdraw consent. Any individual whose personal data we hold may withdraw their consent at any time. When a withdrawal request is received, our firm is obligated to verify the request within 5 working days and to complete the withdrawal process within 30 days. This applies to employees, clients, applicants, and other data subjects. If you receive such a request, escalate it immediately to your supervisor or data privacy officer. Let's talk about the security measures. Protecting data is not just a policy statement, it requires active, concrete measures. Our security framework covers three dimensions. Physical controls govern physical environment where data is stored or accessed. This includes secure storage facilities, locked cabinets, restricted access areas, a clean desk, and a clear screen policy, visitor and access management protocols, and proper disposal of physical documents. Organizational controls are the people and process safeguards. These include having a designated data privacy officer, maintaining documented policies and procedures, conducting privacy impact assessments, providing regular training and awareness, ensuring confidentiality obligations are signed and enforced, and ongoing compliance monitoring. Technical controls are the digital and system-level protections. These include encryption of data at rest and in transit, multiple factor authentication for system access, access control, and user management, firewalls, and anti-malware protection, data backups, and lastly, monitoring and the audit logs. Our data privacy manual exists for five key purposes. First, it explains how the firm handles personal and confidential business information. Second, it ensures our compliance with the Data Privacy Act of 2012. Third, it guides all employees on proper, secure, and lawful data handling. Fourth, it clarifies access rules and what to do in the event of data breach or security incident. And lastly, fifth, it protects the rights of individuals and maintains trust with our clients and partners. Let's now move on with the importance and benefits of compliance. Why does this matter? Let me be direct. Data privacy compliance protects the rights and privacy of every individual whose data we process, our employees, our clients, and the public. It ensures that all data processing is lawful, fair, and transparent. Non-compliance, on the other hand, can result in data misuse, identity theft, and unauthorized disclosure. For the firm, this translates to legal liability, regulatory fines, financial penalties, and serious reputational damage. The benefits of compliance are equally compelling. We gain regulatory standing with the MPC, we build and maintain trust with clients, employees, and business partners. We establish clear accountability through defined roles: the DPO, compliance officers, and the data breach response team. And we achieve stronger data governance aligned with ISO 27001. Not all data carries the same level of risk. Our firm uses three-tier classification system. First, low risk or public data. This is a information that is already publicly available or intended for general distribution. Anyone may access it. Examples include published firm announcements or publicly available client information. Medium risk or for internal data. This is internal information accessible to SCP management, department staff, and authorized person. It is not it is not meant for public distribution and must be handled accordingly. And lastly, high risk or confidential data. This is the most sensitive category, accessible only to specifically authorized individuals. This includes sensitive personal information, confidential client data, financial data, and privileged communication. Now we know the data risk levels. Let's now tackle the data breach and incident response. A data breach is any incident involving unauthorized access, disclosure, loss, alteration, or destruction of personal or business data. This can happen due to hacking, accidental disclosure, device theft, or even misdelivery of an email. The keyword here is unauthorized. Even accidental exposure of data to someone who should not have access to it constitutes a breach. Next, our Data Privacy Officer or DPO is the person responsible for overseeing our firm's compliance with data privacy laws and internal policies. The DPO is your primary point of contact for any data privacy question, concern, or incident. Working alongside the DPO is the Data Breach Response Team or DBRT. This is a designated group of officers whose responsibility is to immediately respond to any data breach or security incident involving personal or business data. They are trained and empowered to act swiftly and decisively when breach occurs. When a breach occurs, there is a structured six steps response process. Step 1: detect, identify, and verify the potential security incident or breach. Step 2: assess impact. Evaluate the nature, scope, and potential impact of the incident. what data was exposed, how many individuals are affected. Step 3. Contain and mitigate. Take immediate measures to contain the breach and minimize further damage. Step 4. Notify. Notify affected data subjects and the NPC as required by law. Step 5. Recover. Restore systems and data to ensure business continuity. And lastly, step 6. Document and report. Document the entire incident and submit the required reports, then review what happened and improve our defenses. If you discover or suspect a data breach, your immediate actions are: number 1, report immediately to the Data Privacy Officer or the DBRT. You can reach them by email at ehdataprivacyconcerns@scp-ph.com. Number 2, do not delete, alter, or conceal any evidence. Even if you are unsure whether something is a breach, preserve all relevant information. And lastly, number 3, secure the affected system or documents to prevent any further exposure. Remember, reporting is not the same as admitting fault. Prompt reporting is a professional and legal obligation. Once a breach is reported, the DBRT takes the lead. They will assess and contain the breach, document the incident using our prescribed breach report forms, and determine whether the formal notification to the NPC and affected data subject is required. If a reportable breach is confirmed, the affected data subject must be notified within 24 hours of discovery. The NPC must be notified within 72 hours. These are legal deadlines, not guidelines. After the immediate crisis has been resolved, the work is not done. Post-incident actions include restoring affected data from secure backups, implementing corrective and preventive measures to close the vulnerability, and participating in a post-incident review, which may include additional targeted training. Every breach is a learning opportunity to make our defenses stronger. As employees of SCP, each of you has a personal responsibility in data privacy. These are not suggestions, they are obligations. 1. Protect the confidentiality of all data you access in the course of your work. 2. Use only secure, firm-approved systems and devices for work-related data. 3. Avoid using public Wi-Fi when accessing work data. Public networks are insecure and create significant exposure. 4. Report any suspected incidents immediately. Do not wait and hope the problem goes away. 5. Follow firm policies and procedures at all times without exception. Let me be clear about the consequences of non-compliance. Violations include unauthorized access of or disclosure of data, improper handling of data, and non-compliance with firm policies. Sanctions can range from a formal written warning to suspension to termination of employment. Beyond internal disciplinary action, individuals may also face civil liability and criminal prosecution under Republic Act 10173. Penalties under the law can include imprisonment and substantial fines. This is serious. We expect every member of this firm to uphold these standards. And take note, acknowledge that most violations are intentional. Always ask questions when in doubt rather than guess. Our data privacy manual includes a comprehensive set of annexes and forms to support our compliance activities. Let me briefly walk you through them. Annex A is the employee data and media consent form, used to obtain written consent before processing personal data. Annex B is the consent to process client data, the client's formal authorization for the firm to handle their information. Annex C is the vendor consent agreement, used when onboarding suppliers and third-party providers. Annex D is the employee confidentiality agreement, your commitment to protect all data you access both during and after your employment with the firm. Annex E is the data access request form, required when formally requesting access to personal or business data. Annex F is the data sharing and outsourcing agreement, governing any data shared with external parties. Annex G is the vendor risk assessment, a pre-engagement checklist for evaluating third-party privacy and security risks. Annex H is the data breach response team composition document, and Annex H1 is the data compromise reporting procedure. The step-by-step guide for reporting incidents. Annex I, Date Through M are data sensitivity guides for specific departments: finance, accounting, tax systems, HR, admin recruitment, IT, legal, and operations. Annex N through P are the breach-related documentation forms, the data breach incident report, the mitigation guide, and the post-mitigation report. Finally, Annex Q is the data subject rights request form for when individuals exercise their rights under the Data Privacy Act, such as requesting access to or correction of their personal data. As we close today's session, let me leave you with the four simple reminders. Number one, data security is everyone's responsibility. It is just an IT issue or illegal issue. It is a firm-wide commitment. 2. Protect both personal and business data. Every piece of information you handle deserves care. 3. When in doubt, ask the DPO or Data Privacy Officer. It's always better to ask before acting than to correct a mistake after the fact. 4. Stay compliant, stay secure. Thank you for the time and attention today, and I hope you learned something and practice what we have just talked about this session.